Hi, my name is Martin Cosens. I'm a game developer based at White Paper Games in Manchester. We're a small indie development studio. I tend to be the person on the team who does a lot of the programming, and that quite often involves using obviously computing and science, but maths quite a lot. Maths was a subject I was interested in high school, but when I was learning, I definitely didn't understand any of the use of it. And it was one of the things I struggled with a lot, was to understand, why do I care about trigonometry and pi? And I think that was one of the things that for me was never really given to me, was that I didn't have hard examples of like, why would this actually be useful in life? I don't need this if I just need to worry about feeding my pets or something like that, like real world examples. But I enjoyed it. But it wasn't until I actually came to starting to pursue a career in game development that I realized actually how amazingly useful and versatile all this stuff was. You can do a lot without a huge basis in mathematics. The more and more I began to work with anything to do with 2D or 3D logic, the more I realized that maths is actually not just important, but so incredibly useful for helping you achieve creative things that you want to achieve. Something simple like making a character look at another character, you would need to understand where those two things are in relation to each other in 3D space, and that just comes back down to simple trigonometry. It's also important to note that there are a lot of aspects of programming that don't require a huge basis in mathematics. There's a lot you can do without it. But also, more importantly than that, the more that you use things like programming languages, the more I think it will help people get to grips with those fundamentals anyway. You don't need to be a maths genius to use this stuff. And a lot of these problems have been solved by other people, and you can just use them. But the more that you use these kinds of techniques, and the more you use things that are available to a lot of programmers now, the more you'll be inadvertently using maths without realizing it. And I think a lot of that stuff you'll kind of pick up more naturally. So hopefully for anyone out there who's maybe they're interested in computers, but mathematics is maybe a little bit more of a concern for them, there are definite ways that you can develop along that line, and it can be fine. Very often when you're working with computers, whether or not you realize it, a lot of the basis of computers is in mathematics. And that's not to say that makes it impossible if you're not strong with mathematics, but it means that anytime you're using computers, as you begin to understand the way computers work, as you begin to use the tools the way computers understand them, you are very often using mathematics. And I don't mean that from a perspective of you need to know complex mathematics, but the kind of mode of thinking that you begin to use is a similar mode of thinking to one you use when you're trying to solve mathematical equations.